Today, we're going to review a news article together so you can listen and learn at the same time. You're going to improve your listening skills, reading, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation all at the same time in a fun and engaging way. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
First, I'll read the headline. Japanese firm unveils a vertical pod that lets you nap upright. So in this picture here, you can see the vertical pod. So pod is the name for this unit. And then vertical is the fact that it's upright. So vertical and then horizontal is across. So it's not a horizontal pod like your bed is horizontal. This is a vertical pod and it lets you nap upright. So just like I said, horizontal, you would be sleeping in your bed. You would not be upright. You would be lying down. So in this case, for napping, for sleeping, the opposite of upright would be lying down because that's how we normally sleep. Except if you're in Japan using one of these vertical pods, you'll be napping upright just like this woman in the photo. So what do you think? Before we even read this article, do you think you could nap in this pod upright? Share your thoughts, yes or no. Put that in the comments. Certainly an interesting concept. I wrote that information for you, and I also wrote the definition of nap. I think it should be well known, but a nap is, of course, a short sleep, usually during the day. Now, in this example, nap is a verb, which of course you can do to nap, just like to sleep. So I could ask you, oh, do you nap? Do you nap? I'm asking you, do you sleep for a short period of time during the day? Do you nap? Now, it's very common to use nap as a noun. If you use nap as a noun, you have two choices of verbs, and it does not matter which one you use. Both are very common and natural. Do you take naps? Do you have naps? So you can use either one equally. So what about you? Do you nap? Do you take naps? Do you have naps? Share that in the comments as well. Now, maybe you'll start taking more naps if you had this vertical pod. Now, don't worry about writing all these notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF, so you can look for the link in the description. Before we continue with the article, I also wrote the definition for unveil. This is a verb, to unveil. When you unveil something, you show it for the first time or you introduce it for the first time. So when this vertical pod was unveiled, it means the public, you and I, were able to see it for the first time. So the Japanese firm is another word for company. Japanese firm, Japanese company unveils a vertical pod that lets you nap upright. All right, let's find out more about this. It's interesting that it's also in a public place. I don't know if I could nap in a public place with people just walking around. Interesting concept though. Let's find out. Experts have long argued that having a power nap at work. Okay, let's look at this because you could say experts have argued that having a power nap at work and then whatever it is, we'll get to that in a second. But notice how they added have long argued. This is another way of saying experts have argued for a long time. So instead of saying for a long time, experts have argued for a long time, you can simply take the word long and use it before the verb. Experts have long argued. So maybe you could say, I have long said that improving your English is important for your career. So I've said for a long time. So I haven't just said this once or twice. I've long said. Experts have long argued that having a power nap. Let's take a look at power nap? A power nap is a nap, but when I hear a power nap, I picture a nap that is for a short period of time. So you're really just there to have a very short nap for the sole purpose of waking up and being able to perform better. Whereas you could have a nap on a Sunday afternoon just for the purpose of relaxing and pure enjoyment. But a power nap, you just want to have a very short nap so you can wake up and be more energized, more productive, work better, work smarter. Have you ever had a power nap? Do you think the idea of power naps is a good idea or a bad idea? Share that in the comments as well. Okay, have long argued that having a power nap can, at work, so not on a Sunday afternoon at home on the couch, at work, can increase alertness. Alertness, this is your adjective, an adjective to just say that you are very awake. Your alertness is you're very awake. So you should never drive if you're not alert, because if you're not very awake, that can be very dangerous. So your amount of mentally being very awake. Alertness, boost productivity. Boost is a very common way of saying increase. We use this a lot, especially in a business context. For example, we need to boost our sales. We need to increase our sales. I wrote that example here for you. Now, of course, boost is a verb, so you have to conjugate it. In this example, that nap, this should say nap, not help, that nap really boosted my alertness. Okay, so here, boost is in the past simple because it's a completed past action. That nap really boosted my alertness. Now, previously, I think I said alertness is an adjective. If I said that, it is not. That's incorrect. Alertness is the noun form, is speaking about alert, being alert. Alert is the adjective and alertness is the noun form. So it's just speaking about it as a thing, as a concept. So my alertness, because we often have articles or possessives before nouns. So alertness is a noun. I put it here for you. And alert is an adjective. I'm sorry if previously I said the wrong thing. Now, again, your alertness is your feeling of being awake, and we often talk about it with mentally awake. So you could also say that nap helped me become more alert. So in this case, alert is our adjective. I am alert. I feel alert. I've become more alert. That nap helped me become more alert. So this is what the article or the company who created this vertical pod for upright napping is suggesting as the importance of having naps. Let's continue. Boost productivity and even make you more creative.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
Now, a Japanese firm, remember firm, company, has revealed. Before, do you remember the verb that they used in the headline? It was unveiled, unveiled. When you reveal something, you also introduce it or make it known, show it for the first time. So in this context is exactly the same. Has unveiled, has revealed. Now they've revealed a bizarre pod. By using the adjective bizarre, they're saying it's strange, bizarre, unusual. And it is, right? The fact that it's an upright and you nap upright instead of lying down, so you're in a vertical position rather than a horizontal position, that is bizarre. Most people don't sleep like that. At least in North America, we don't. If you're in Japan, you can let us know, is this a common practice in Japan? Have you ever seen this pod in Japan? So if you're watching from Japan or you've been to Japan, please share your thoughts on this as well. So that's what they mean by bizarre as an adjective. So we can say strange or unusual. Strange, unusual. Bizarre pod that makes it easier than ever before for workers to grab some shut-eye. So to grab some shut-eye, well, right now I'm closing my eyes, but you can also say I'm shutting my eyes. It's not very common to say shut your eyes, but you can say that. It's more common to say close your eyes, close your eyes. But this is where the expression shut-eye comes from, shut-eye. So if you want to grab some shut-eye, is another way of saying grab some sleep, okay? And remember, a nap is just a short sleep, usually during the day. And American English speakers, we commonly replace the verb get with grab. It's very common for us to do this. It's more informal, it's more casual, but it's very frequently done. It would be very common for an American to text a friend or call a friend or just say to a friend, a coworker, anyone, hey, do you want to grab a coffee? Do you want to grab a coffee after work? Extremely common. I use it all the time myself. And it's just a replacement to, do you want to get a coffee? Which I guess is also a replacement to, do you want to have a coffee after work? But very common to use grab. You don't have to use it if you're not comfortable with it, because it does depend on the specific context if it's appropriate or not. But it is important that you understand what it means in the context. Even if you choose not to use it, you don't want to use it yourself, that's fine. You can just use get or have. But again, important to understand this is how native speakers speak in the real world. So it makes it easier than ever before for workers to grab some shut-eye, get some sleep. Giraffe nap. So this is the name of the pod, giraffe nap. Giraffe nap is a vertical pod that lets office employees sleep upright. So again, very interesting. Of course, they're not targeting this for your home, because why would you get this in your home? You have your couch, you have your bed. That's where you would have a nap, right? But this is for the office. So they're targeting office employees. So it lets office employees sleep upright, much like the long-necked mammal. The long-necked mammal, of course, they're talking about a giraffe, and that's where the name came from, because a giraffe sleeps upright. Many animals sleep upright, not really a trait of humans, but many animals sleep upright. About the size as a small public phone booth, it contains a series of platforms. So notice here the sentence structure, because we're not starting with a subject. This is just additional information about the pod, but the sentence really starts here because this is our subject, it. Otherwise, you would say, it is about the size as a small public phone booth, period. It contains, and then you can continue on. It contains a series of platforms. This would be a separate sentence. This alone cannot be a separate sentence because there is no subject. But you can turn it into a separate sentence by having your subject. And then if you have a subject, you of course need a verb, and then the rest of the sentence, which describes the subject. It is about the size as a small public phone booth. It contains. But here, this is just additional information about the size. So this is a more casual way of saying approximately about. I slept for about 20 minutes, approximately 20 minutes. You could also say around 20 minutes. All three of those are very commonly used. Approximately is the most formal, and then around, about are more casual ways of saying it. It contains a series of platforms that support body weight while blocking out noise from the outside. Okay, if you block something out, you're blocking out noise. It means you're preventing it from entering. We specifically use the phrasal verb to block out with light and noise. So in this case, it's noise. So if you're in this public place, you don't have to worry about wearing earplugs because the pod itself is soundproof. It blocks out the noise. But I wonder if it blocks out the light because the room is very light, and when you're napping, it's probably easier if it's dark. But it looks like it does have a cover, and maybe when you close the cover, it becomes completely dark as well. So it could also block out the light. Otherwise, you might want to wear an eye mask to block out the light. And I wrote that example here. This eye mask really blocks out the light. Let's continue. However, at just 8.4 feet high and 4 feet wide, claustrophobes might want to opt for the office sofa. Okay, claustrophobes. The more common expression is claustrophobics. Listen to the pronunciation, claustrophobic, claustrophobic. And then you add an S to it to mean all claustrophobic people, claustrophobics, claustrophobics. People who are claustrophobic, and then if you just say claustrophobics, it means people who are claustrophobic. So claustrophobics don't like small spaces. It makes them very uncomfortable. So maybe even being in an elevator would be uncomfortable because it's a small enclosed space. And of course, our vertical pod is a small enclosed space, especially if you put the cover over it to block out the light, it would feel even more enclosed. So if you're claustrophobic, you wouldn't like this. Claustrophobics wouldn't like this. Claustrophobes might want to opt for the office sofa. If you opt for something, it means you choose that as an option. So let's say you're going mattress shopping and there are so many different types of mattresses to choose from. You could say we opted for a firm mattress to mean that you chose a firm mattress and there were many, many other options. Now, to use this expression, there could just be two options, firm and soft, and you opted for the firm mattress. We use the preposition for if it's followed by a noun. If it's a verb, then you just use the infinitive. We opted to buy a firm mattress. And opt is a verb, so you need to conjugate it, and that's why it's in the past simple with the ed. We opted to buy a firm mattress, which is just another way of saying we chose to buy a firm mattress. So claustrophobes might want to opt for the office sofa. So they have the vertical pod, which might make them feel claustrophobic, or they have the office sofa. So if they opt for it, they choose the office sofa and they don't choose the vertical pod. What about you? Which one would you opt for? Would you opt for the pod or the sofa? I think I would personally give the pod a try. I'm not claustrophobic, so that wouldn't bother me at all. And it looks interesting. I would definitely like to try a power nap in the pod, the giraffe pod. Okay, let's continue. The firm said it's working towards a society where everyone can easily take a nap. So remember here we have our verb take a nap, but you can also use which verb? Have. You can also use have a nap, or you could also just say where everyone can easily nap. And you can just use nap as a verb. So instead of take a nap, have a nap, you can just say easily nap. So I'll put this one under here. Can easily nap, can easily have a nap, can easily take a nap. And ultimately improve business and healthcare. So the company believes in naps. They think that they're very beneficial, so they want everyone in society to regularly have naps. Do you think that would be a good idea? Feel free to share. There are probably many people who have been unable to get rid of their physical fatigue. Fatigue is another way of saying tiredness, sleepiness, that feeling of being tired. But fatigue, it sounds stronger. It affects your whole health, fatigue. So I wrote extreme tiredness for fatigue. And to get rid of, this is another way of saying to eliminate, to permanently remove, to get rid of. To get rid of their physical fatigue and stress and have endured sleepiness and continued to work, the firm says. The verb endure simply means to experience, but we only use it for difficult negative things. So I wouldn't say, oh, I endured a beautiful day at the park. Because a beautiful day at the park is not a difficult thing. I endured a night of terrible sleep. So I experienced it, but I experienced it in a very negative way. I endured a night of difficult, restless sleep. So now I'm fatigued. I'm extremely tired. So have endured sleepiness and continue to work, the firm says. Now we are approaching an era where we're breaking down such stereotypes. So if you break down a stereotype, it means you try to eliminate it. So you could use the get rid of. We're trying to get rid of, eliminate such stereotypes. Eliminate, and I'll write down, get rid of. And the stereotype, although they don't specifically say it here, I guess the stereotype would be that it's normal to be fatigued and continue to work. So it's normal to just go through your 8 hours even though you're very tired, rather than have a nap, a power nap, and try to boost your alertness, your productivity, your creativity. I think that's the stereotype, because I don't know about in your country or your part of the world, but in North America, I would say naps aren't really something that most adults do. And I guess it's probably viewed more as like, why do you need a nap? You shouldn't take a nap. You should just work through it. You need to work through the day. That's more the attitude. I would say in North America, naps are generally for children and the elderly, but not really adults, and certainly not in the middle of the day at work. It's not a common practice. It's certainly not viewed as a positive thing. So that's probably the stereotype. What about in your country, in your part of the world? Are naps viewed more positively as being productive? Is it appropriate for an adult to have a nap in the middle of the day at work? So share that, because I would be really interested to know, because in North America, I would say currently it isn't a common practice. It wouldn't be viewed very positively. And I think that's the stereotype they're trying to break down, eliminate, get rid of. Let's continue. The company recommends a nap time of 20 minutes. So a nap time of 20 minutes, that's the total length of the nap. I'm laughing a little because when you say, oh, it's nap time, this is what we say to children. And remember I said, oh, in North America, it's not common for adults to have a nap. I have only ever heard of nap time in the context of a child. Oh, it's nap time. Oh, it's my kid's nap time. Sorry, I can't grab a coffee. It's my kid's nap time. But in this context, that's not how they're using it. They're just saying a nap duration of 20 minutes. It's just funny seeing nap time because, as I said, that's what parents use with their children. So a nap duration of 20 minutes, as anything longer than 30 minutes can affect your sleep at night. So again, that's the concept of a power nap, There's really that emphasis on the nap not being very long. And the sole purpose of it is so you can wake up more alert, more productive, more creative, not because you want to have this relaxing, enjoyable, lazy sleep on the couch on a Sunday afternoon. That's not the purpose. So a power nap. And that's the end of our article. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts about naps and how your culture, your society, your country views naps in general, because I shared at least how it's viewed in North America. And now what I'll do is I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Japanese firm unveils a vertical pod that lets you nap upright. Experts have long argued that having a power nap at work can increase alertness, boost productivity, and even make you more creative. Now, a Japanese firm has revealed a bizarre pod that makes it easier than ever before for workers to grab some shut-eye. Giraffe Nap is a vertical pod that lets office employees sleep upright, much like the long-necked mammal. About the size as a small public phone booth, it contains a series of platforms that support body weight while blocking out noise from the outside. However, at just 8.4 feet high and 4 feet wide, claustrophobes might want to opt for the office sofa. The firm said it is working towards a society where everyone can easily take a nap and ultimately improve business and healthcare. There are probably many people who have been unable to get rid of their physical fatigue and stress and have endured sleepiness and continue to work, the firm says. Now, we are approaching an era where we're breaking down such stereotypes. The company recommends a nap time of 20 minutes, as anything longer than 30 minutes can affect your sleep at night.
Did you enjoy this lesson? Do you want me to make more lessons where we review news articles together? If you do, then put nap time in the comments. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit sleepy just after reading this article. So put nap time in the comments, and maybe we should all take a nap. And of course, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And if you're not too tired, you can keep improving your English with this lesson right now.